And should I divorce my wife? And should I kill my wife? I killed my wife!
Alright, I get it!
After nearly 2 years of hiatus, Hazbin Hotel Season 2 has officially returned to the public. Obviously, this show has had its fair share of criticisms last season, some fair, some not. Pacing being a big one that even the turbo diehard fans had trouble ignoring, with the premiere of the first episode feeling more like a mid-season episode rather than a proper episode 1, at least to me. I remember a lot of people were saying during the Season 2 lead-up that this season was supposedly getting much longer episodes to fix the pacing, and so far, that seems to be a lie, but I guess it could change later on, not really counting on it though. Because even as a whole, Season 1 felt like it was trying to tackle too many plotlines / concepts at once, while simply not having enough time in the episodes to feel like it was substantial enough. So do Season 2's first 2 episodes fix this in any way? Yeah, a little bit. So let me break down my initial thoughts on everything I'm seeing so far. Let's go. So off rip, the flow into the premiere feels a lot more natural than Season 1's. Again, a lot of Season 1, Episode 1's first 5 or so minutes felt like the show expected you to know who these characters already are, and, you know, they could have been introduced a bit better overall. Obviously, the pilot does exist, but the average normie with an Amazon Prime subscription likely isn't going out of their way ahead of time to look up VGMarkis' YouTube channel to watch the pilot. They're watching the content given to them on Prime only, which is understandable to a degree, honestly. Thankfully, this time around the flow felt a lot better. Hell is still doing some light recovery work after Adam's attack, while the media is giving tons of spotlight to the hotel, only not really for the reasons Charlie would have hoped. Despite acting in self-defense last season, the news and by extension Vox Tech is acting like the hotel is some military training ground where demons can learn how to kill angels. So the only reason people are flooding the entrance to check in is because they'll think they'll be able to fight angels next Extermination Day as opposed to atoning for their sins. And I get it, the fact that the hotel has had, such little business prior to this goes to show the vast majority of sinners couldn't care less about going to heaven, especially since heaven is filled with the angels that come down to murder them once a year. Why would they want to do extra work to be surrounded by angels they assume are all like Luke or Adam when they can just screw off in hell some more, continuing to live an equally painful or potentially more enjoyable life depending on the demon? Naturally, Charlie is trying her best to get these people to understand what the hotel's true purpose is, but is struggling to do so because her head isn't really in the game right now, as she's still grieving over the quote-unquote death of Sir Pentious. Since she has no idea he's in heaven, she's low-key blaming herself for his death on top of feeling like she can't convince people redemption works, then he would have died for nothing. Kind of a continuation of her main conflict of last season, feeling like she has to fill the massive shoes her mother left behind, as the one sinner that was able to inspire demons to unite together, supposedly without inciting violence or war, as well as being the literal princess of hell. She doesn't want to just sit around like some mope her whole life. She wants to actually improve the lives of other people, but she's petrified of making the wrong decision that could make things worse. So while the hotel's popularity is good on paper, she doesn't want to ruin this chance. The one other character who's struggling with Pentious' death around the same level as Charlie is Cherry Bomb, as while they were never officially an item, he always liked her and she started developing some feelings for him towards the later parts of Season 1. So when they shared that kiss right before he sacrificed himself, it's understandable why Cherry would start feeling some type of way now that he's gone. These two had a bit of a Joker, Batman from the Dark Knight movie dynamic going on before the events of Season 1, fighting in petty turf wars so much that they felt like they needed each other to survive in a twisted way. Obviously, Pentious fell for her first, but now Cherry may be falling harder. Cherry's currently coping with his death by denying her romantic feelings for him, while Charlie copes by thinking the newest demon to properly check in, Baxter, can be a replacement for Sir Pentious, as he's a mad scientist inventor himself, who for the time being has a similar mindset to Alistair, in the sense that he wants to observe the hotel's methods from afar, though while Alistair says he does it for humorous reasons, Baxter's are scientific, saying he wants to study as much as possible to prove his hypothesis that redemption into heaven is impossible. Nifty also gets some praise from the sinners since she's the one who killed Adam, still ignoring Charlie's calls for attention. I'm not going to lie, outside of what I previously mentioned, that's about it for the main hotel POV, to be honest. It felt like they kept doing the same scene over and over with slightly tweaked dialogue sometimes, mainly referring to whenever sinner reporters tried to get Charlie to answer questions. That one guy making the same joke over and over about killing his wife. It was fine the first time, but I think he did it like 4 times total this episode. It's like, alright bro, relax. Well, there was a bit of a pep talk Lucifer tried to give her. It's clear that he's still not doing super great. Yeah, he's doing a lot better than last season now that he and Charlie are spending more time together, but goddamn is Lilith's absence taking just as much, if not an even bigger toll on his mental health now. Still cooped up in a room, making ducks all day, hardly interacting with anyone besides Charlie. Sometimes. At least he's able to have down-to-earth conversations with Charlie now, as opposed to tiptoeing around their problems or flat out ignoring them like before. Progress is progress. The highlight of this episode was Vox and the rest of the V's for sure. Their songs were so unbelievably good. The amount of main character energy Vox is already giving off is kind of insane, which may be hit or miss for some, but I'm willing to acknowledge my bias as a shameless Vox simp. Like the trailers implied, Vox is trying to use the Hazbin Hotel's reputation as angel slayers to kickstart a war against heaven, allowing for him and the rest of the V's to become more than overlords, but gods in the eyes of sinners. Seeing Val and Velvet not really give a fuck about Vox's plan at the start is hilarious, by the way, as these two seem to be totally content with their current hell lives, Val literally questioning why they need to rule heaven at all. As yeah, this is more Vox's dream than anything. He's one of the most power-hungry attention hogs in all of hell, on top of being one of the most insecure ones, feeling like he always needs to prove himself in some way to those around him, especially Alistair. So what better way to do that than take over heaven? Quick side note, there was a scene during Vox's plan breakdown where Valentino's abuse on angel dust was brought up, and the way they went about it was very questionable, to be honest. Basically, Valentino was trying to deny how much he hits Angel, followed by a montage with cartoonist sound effects of Angel dust getting slapped around. I don't know, man. It's one thing if this show never toyed with the idea of a serious abusive dynamic between two characters, because at that point, while the jokes still might not be funny, at least they wouldn't feel as eyebrow-raising as now, since we clearly saw how awful Angel and Val's situation is. Even before Season 1's official airing, music videos like Addict showed how bad it could get. So making a jokey montage out of it in the first episode of this new season might have not been the best look in the world. I feel like it's just gonna leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. Just because I'm not personally bothered by it doesn't mean the people who do get bothered by it are invalid. Plus it helps the agenda of the people who make their entire online personality haters of Viz's work. I don't know, just feels like a lose-lose situation for everyone to include this joke. Sorry if that rant felt dragged out, but I wanted to get that out now rather than later. Back to the more positive side, the songs are absolute bangers so far. Christian Borle is killing it at Vox once again. The We Get Up There song with all three V's has been stuck in my head since I finished the episode. That's one thing you can at least count on with Hazbin or even Hell of a Boss. It's hard to deny how catchy the songs are. Sure, the lyrics can be a tad corny at times depending on the song, but they're still catchy anyway. I value that the most. If I can bop my head along to it or tap my feet, that's good enough for me. Concluding the episode with Charlie finally standing up for her ideals, telling anyone who isn't there to atone for their sins to leave, which as expected, gets rid of everyone except Baxter.
Petrus was redeemed and he is in heaven now. Yay! But don't worry, I'll be back again as soon as I can. But yes, your hotel totally works. Congratulations! Bye!
Oh yeah, Emily shows up last second to give Charlie the rundown about Penchus arriving in hell. Definitely wasn't expecting her to find out already, but okay, sure. So I'd say as a season opener outside of the Angel Dust montage, this was a little bit stronger than season 1's. It did a bit better job at setting up the V's as the next villains compared to Adam as last season in my opinion. Initial appearance Adam with his 6-month extermination mandate was another aspect that felt like it should have been saved for like halfway through the season as a reveal as opposed to the first ever episode. But even then, this episode's whole thing with Emily showing up before we even saw Penchus felt like a strange decision to me. Episode 2 is all Heaven's POV from the same time frame of the previous episode's events. I just think it would have felt better structured if they did POV switches within a single episode or across 2 episodes. Kind of like how Fiona and Cake episodes go back and forth between its 2 main universes. Episode 2 I did like a bit more though, as it gave us a lot more insight into Penchus' character and how he ended up in hell to begin with. Back in the late 1800s, Penchus was an inventor, just like now, only he was much more of a hermit back then, never really interacting with the outside world, let alone women due to extreme social anxiety, where he eventually witnessed multiple murders from the infamous serial killer Jack the Ripper, never doing anything to stop his reign of terror, resulting in the spirits from beyond believing he was complicit in murder, thus sent him to hell. Which makes him kinda similar to Sarah in a sense, as she allowed demon genocide to take place for hundreds of years, thinking it was the only way to keep heaven safe. So I'm looking forward to more interactions between these two. For a bit, Emily was the only one truly on Penchus' side until a new character dubbed the Speaker of God stepped in to reassure Penchus' redemption. I really like how this character is designed. It reminds me if like one of the Ars Goetia was in heaven or something. The reason only he got into heaven after Adam quote-unquote killed him was because of his selfless act to save his friends, which he never did while he was alive and got him sent to hell in the first place, despite not really going out of his way to hurt others directly. But while he earned his way into heaven legitimately, Lute wasn't having any of it, struggling to contain her rage behind this decision on top of losing out on army general position to Adam's son Abel. Honestly, Penchus isn't doing so great either. Heaven keeps getting hyped up as this incredible place to live, at least compared to hell, while all Penchus wants to do is go back to hell so he can see his friends again, trying everything he can think of to get back. Emily, Abel, and St. Peter go through all these great things with their songs, but he still doesn't really care that much. Like, he appreciates what Emily is doing for him and, like, you know, thanks her when she, like, redecorates her room, but he still wants to go back to hell so bad. Going into a bit of a depressive state by the end of the episode because there's apparently no way for him to directly contact the homies downstairs. Which I find a bit hard to believe since we see in this very episode, Lilith is still able to get cell phone reception, just choosing to ignore her daughter instead of, you know, finally talking to her. What is your game, woman? I need to know. The other big focuses in this episode are on Sarah and Lute. Sarah struggling to make the hard decisions for Heaven after her secret of allowing the exterminations to happen was brought to the public eye, as well as Lute full-on losing her shit. As yeah, like most people predicted, the Adam we saw in Season 2 trailers was nothing more than a ghost concocted by Lute's deteriorating mental state, using his ghost as an extra way to convince herself that Abel doesn't deserve to be the new exorcist leader, as well as how she needs to take matters into her own hands against hell, even if Sarah considers those actions as treason now. While I can appreciate the parallels between Charlie and Sarah when it comes to the burdens of having to make, you know, decisions nobody else is really allowed to make, it is tough for me to feel bad for Sarah still, at least so far, because what she got away with is 1,000 times worse than anything Charlie has done. You know, it's giving very, you know, white diamond or like yellow blue diamond energy. I'm trying to stay hopeful when it comes to Luke content because there is potential there. Even if Vox is going to be the bigger focus, the seeds can still be planted for Luke to do something big at the end of the season to maybe segue into Season 3 perhaps. Kind of like what they did with King Andreas in Amphibia Season 2. At least Gravity is another banger.
Like gravity, like gravity.
My favorite song so far of the new ones. Jessica Vox's voice is absolutely insane. Overall, these first 2 episodes were relatively solid, about on par in quality for Season 1's first 2 in my opinion. Some areas they were better, some worse, and some the same. So it's tough for me to say which had a definitively better premiere when it was that close. But let me know what you guys thought about the premiere in the comments below and how it compared to Season 1's. I'd love to know your thoughts. Like, subscribe, all that good jazz. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.